Hey, it's Saturday, and this is Share Your Scars radio talk show. This is the weekly episode that takes place weekly. So get your coffee. We're going to go about half hour or so. So welcome to Share Your Scars. This is a radio talk show, and I say radio, excuse me, bitches. This is recorded live and unedited, so sometimes I have a scratch or an itch and I scratch it. Sometimes I gotta clear my throat. Just so I get that out there. People have said, why do you do that? Because that's life. Yes, we get second chances, but you know what? You can't take things back necessarily, so I just go live and run with it. But this is Share Your Scars talk show, recorded live and unedited. And about 4 years ago, we were on a online radio show, and it was available through an app with City of Angels. And I've continued to call it radio show, and I have to realize it's audio and it's available online. And our like this video is more of a talk show via video. So we do have a website. If you go to shareyourscars.com, you will see all the different shows that we have available. And I actually have my laptop here with our different websites that we have, and I'm going to be sharing some information, and I also have a couple different things I'm going to read today. And I say different websites, and they Launching Point is a self-injury support and resource center, and that is a part of what Share Your Scars is part of. Boy, I'm a little tongue-tied. And I'm awake. I've been awake since 5:15, so I'm good. I think this is my second cup of coffee, so the beauty of recording live. And I'm just going to get a little, another chair here. So, got to put my coffee somewhere. So, welcome to the show. I kind of start off a little bit, first couple minutes when I do the longer shows, to let people get situated and get on, and just do a little welcome, if you will. So very similar to our support groups. When people come in, we just don't start right away. So welcome. This is Share Your Scars, and it's an online show. You can watch it or listen to it. If you go to shareyourscars.com, and I'm going to go there with you right now so that I can show you what I'm talking about. Well, let's just see here what okay, so here we are. We are on Share Your Scars, shareyourscars.com, and you'll come to the page there, and you'll see all about the show. And you'll see some people there. That is Kevin and Elena and Caitlin, and they are involved as well from time to time. And I'm not in the picture because I'm not. And if you scroll down, different pictures that we're taking to our recordings, up here, we have our story, the show video, the show audio, take 5, and contact information. So if you go to our website, shareyourscars.com, you will see that. And the show, the video, is like this, visual, if you will. So if you go there, you will see different shows. It will take you to our YouTube channel. And what we do with the live shows is upload them to YouTube once they are finished on Facebook. And then the audio shows, which used to be called the radio, those are all audio, and they're great. You can listen to them while you're driving, while you're walking, you're exercising. They're great. I was listening to them yesterday, and I've had a couple of people ask me, like, you get encouraged by yourself? I don't really look at it that way. It's not that I'm listening to myself, even though I am. There's so many tidbits, and I'm like, wow, this is really good. And I was listening yesterday, uploading some to the website. So the audio is there. I'm just looking on the website here. And then Take 5. Take 5 is 5 minutes. Take 5 with Vicki. It's 5 minutes every day. If you're just tuning in and maybe you're listening to this a year later, today's date is April 11th, 2020, and we are in the midst of a pandemic with COVID-19, coronavirus, and it has affected the nation not just the United States, but everywhere. And we are on what many of us call lockdown. We're on social distancing. We need to keep our faces covered when we go out, and this has become my new temporary normal. I don't call it my normal, my new normal. I call it my new temporary normal. I'm a big believer in you have what you say. And I really don't want to own up to, hey, this is our new normal forever. Do I believe that we are going to be covering our faces for a very long time? I do. I believe once we go out into the world and the social distancing will still take place, and I believe face coverings will still happen for a while after we are not on homebound anymore. I believe it will be a safety precaution. So this is just a temporary new normal that you cover your face, your nose and your mouth while you are in presence of other people or out and about at stores. And so if you're watching this now, you totally understand, but maybe a year or two, people that didn't experience it or weren't sure of what was happening, this is a time where people are very nervous and scared, and I have decided that the show, which used to be called Coffee Chat, it's just 5 minutes. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. I did a recent episode or segment, I should say, a recent segment on suicidal thoughts, and it was really serious, and it went a lot longer than I had thought. I don't really limit myself to time. When I have a show that's called Take 5 with Vicky, or I'm told 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I do my best to keep to that. But that was a particular show I felt needed to be in the 5-minute show arena, if you will. But it went a little bit longer. So take a look on that. That is, it's uploaded. It's on Facebook. It will be on YouTube soon. So Take 5, if you look on the website there at shareyourscars.com, that is every day. And as I was mentioning, where we are in today's world with the pandemic, that's the reason. Is it's a 5-minute encouragement. It's a 5-minute go get 'em type of thing. We all need encouragement in this world, and I get my encouragement from morning devotionals, staying positive, all of our messages at Launching Point, because Share Your Scars is a part of Launching Point, which is our 501c3 charity. We're a unique charity providing self-injury support groups, online support, and also products. We have wristbands, magnets, buttons, and stickers with encouraging sayings and phrases. I'm wearing one right now that says, "You are not alone." We feel alone. Even when we're with people, we can feel alone, and that's probably another issue altogether, but this is who we are and what we do. There's so many different parts to the puzzle of Launching Point, and this is one of those pieces, which is Share Your Scars. It's recorded live and unedited here at Launching Point. Very fortunate that we are considered an essential service during this time, and I come here every day so that I can not only bring a show, but get things done and get prepared for when we're needed again. We're always needed. Keeping up with the websites and cleaning and that kind of thing. But if someone says, "Hey, can I stop by?" Sure, we've got to put the face covering on and stand 6 feet apart, but we will talk. So if you're someone who needs some help or wants to talk in person, we are at 408 Main Street, Suite 101. You'll see our sign outside. You can ring the doorbell. I will be more than happy to talk with you. We've had that this past week. I had a couple people stop by. And you might want to call or text first, because I don't know always when I'm here. But some people will see my Jeep and they'll say, "I knew you were there." And that's great. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Share Your Scars talk show. And today we have one of our groups. We have many online groups. One of our groups, someone had asked a question about certain thing, and it really got me thinking that in life we can make excuses, right? We can rationalize things, and we can say, "Well, it wasn't that bad," or if I do this unhealthy thing instead of that, I'm better. If I only have 4 pieces of pizza, slices of pizza, 4 pieces of cake, 4 slices of pizza instead of my normal 6, I'm okay. We rationalize. This brain can get us to think so many things. So I thought, let's talk about that on the talk show. Because if one person brings it up, you ever been in a class or something and you don't want to ask the question, and then when someone does, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the same question I was going to ask, and you kind of feel relieved that someone else is thinking what you're thinking. So want to talk about rationalizations and excuses. And then we're going to talk about how to deal with them and some coping skills. And excuse me, just want to bring a couple of things over. Excuse me. It's a tickle. It's only a tickle on my throat. So how do we rationalize things? Maybe you're watching and you're like, oh, Vicki, you just don't understand. I probably hear that more than anything. I don't understand. You might say that to other people. Well, Betty Lou, is there anyone actually named Betty Lou? If your name's Betty Lou, can you contact me? Because that's a really cool name. Anyway, Betty Lou, you just don't understand. I think that when we're saying it, we believe it. You don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand how. You don't understand that if I. And I'm not saying that that's a rationalization or an excuse. This is what it is. You don't understand is this. We're guarded. We're ready. And that probably comes, I've done it many times, it probably comes from feeling misunderstood, feeling that people literally don't understand what you've gone through, what you've been facing. So we start off with, you don't understand, but we're guarded. And what happens is when you're guarded, and when you say you're not going to understand, you don't understand, if you tell someone what they are or aren't, you've already set the tone. Already set the tone. You don't understand. Okay? Right? You kind of deflated the person unintentionally. You're not going to understand anything I say. Okay? And you're up. It's not necessarily you're looking for a fight, but your defenses are up. And most likely that's understandably so. I've done that over the years. Maybe a different approach would be, you know what, I want to talk about it. I'm really not sure if you can understand where I'm coming from. And I hope that you can, but sometimes things are in my mind that I'm not so sure that. That's a different way to approach it. Another way would be, I've been through so much and I want you to understand what I'm about to say. So if you could please listen and hear me out, that would be great because I feel misunderstood a lot. We're not telling someone what they're doing. We're saying more how we feel. I feel that I am not understood. So we're talking about rationalizations. If you just, are watching now or just came in, this is Share Your Scars radio talk show. It used to be radio. I keep saying that. Talk show. And we're talking about rationalizations and making excuses. And the first thing that I believe that we do as people is start off with, you don't understand. So now that we kind of got that talked about, we can go forward with the other things. And that is rationalizing. How many of you that are watching right now harmed this morning, that you cut or you burned yourself? You smashed your head into the wall. You punched something. Okay? So say you punched something or smashed your head in the wall, and you might say, well, at least I didn't cut myself. Well, at least I didn't. Time to freak out. Time out. Put yourself in a corner like I am, but not for a bad reason. Time out. That's rationalizing right there. Is that you're saying, well, at least I didn't do this. Well, it's the less of two evils. Okay, Okay, that's a saying that for me, when people say it, it was the less of two evils. Okay, so you have two evils, and you chose one of them, so it's still an evil. Again, we're rationalizing. Well, it's better then. Well, at least I didn't. Well, you know, I've done it. I'm not putting anyone down. I'm not judging anyone. The beauty of having personal experience is that you can share it with others. And I'm at the point where I can do this. You're down here, right? You feel kind of low. I can reach out my hand and pull you up. Years ago, I couldn't. 15, 20, whatever years ago that I was extremely unhealthy and not in a good space, I couldn't do that. And many of us try to do that when we're trying to help and we're getting pulled down with the person. I talk about showing your scars, sharing your story, and that we can be helping people even if we're broken, and broken crayons still color, and those things are all true. But we have to guard ourselves and protect ourselves to say, okay, this person needs help. I want to talk with them a little bit and maybe help them, but you know what? I'm going to get brought down just like that. When people come to the support group, we have people that leave once they get in a healthy place because they don't want to come back, because it's not the people who are going to bring them down, but it's like, well, I haven't harmed in 2 or 3 years and I'm in a healthy place, and I think if I come back to that, it's going to bring me back in my mind to where I was then. I'm like, okay, then you move on. But get to a point, if you want to help someone, you've got to get to the point where you're strong yourself. It's like on the airplane, and the flight attendants, talk about the oxygen that comes, and they say if you have people in need, small children or someone that needs assistance, to put that oxygen mask on yourself first and then assist, because if you're trying to assist someone and you don't have the oxygen on, what's gonna happen is that you're not going to be able to help anyone because you're not there. And that's life. We need to make sure that we are healthy and strong, and that ourselves individually, are at a place where we can help someone. And I've talked with people over months and years, and I don't try to fix people, but because I have so much experience and have been through so much, I tend to really talk and want, if you ever been somewhere where you want that person so much to get out of it, and you go at them, and it's coming across to them as they don't understand. And I know that I have come across like that over the years, because people aren't ready for that. You have to be ready. Do you ever help somebody that wasn't ready? What if you're in the water, in the ocean, and you're having trouble swimming, and if you go under, you're going to drown, and someone's going to throw you that life preserver, but you went under for whatever reason, you just went under, and you get up and you don't see it, and then and you fall under. It sounds a little dramatic, but that's where we are in life. If we say too much, too soon, too fast, it's exactly that. It's too much, too soon, too fast for that person. I had a person that I will call her, because she might be watching. Let's see, what can I call her? I'll call her Clara. Clara, in 2012 or 11, came to our group, and she support group, self-injury support group that we've had since 2005. And she came into the group and said, "Vicki, I'm not going to quit. You can't make me. I'm not going to stop." Now, the self-injury support group is all about overcoming self-harm and getting the support you need to overcome self-harm. And I have someone telling me, "You can't make me not going to do it." I said, okay. Even being over the top, Vicki, even being the one that over-explains and will probably hit that point 72 times, and you got it maybe the first 3 points, I will tell you 72 more just to make sure you really get it. I just said, okay. And guess what? That person doesn't harm anymore. And I've been asked this many times, well, do you ever think of harming? And sure, of course, I think everybody does. And it doesn't mean that it's going to take you down. So if you've overcome self-harm, and you're like, sometimes I get thoughts, think about how long you've cut, burned, and you've hurt your body. Think about how long you've done it. If it was 5 years, if it was 10 years, if it was months. Now think about how long you're free of self-harm. Right? That's going to make all the difference in the world. So if you've struggled 5 years and you've been free 1 year, this is going to have some influence. If it's opposite, you've harmed for 1 year and you're 5 years of overcoming and being free, you're going to prevail. So try not to be so hard on yourself and say, okay, if you do slip up, own that. Say, you know what? I cut today. I cut last week. I cut this morning. I'm really glad that I didn't burn, but I did harm myself, and I'm back to day one. And, well, I got to forgive myself and move on. That's what we need to do. Not rationalizing, well, because what happens is when we rationalize, we're making excuses, and then we're not owning up to that, and it makes it harder for us to get out of what we're in. So I appreciated Clara saying, I'm not going to quit. You can't make me. I don't want to. I appreciated that because that was honesty, and you can work with the honesty. If she had come in and said, oh yeah, I'm gonna. So let's be honest with ourselves where we are. Okay? Well, I'm 50 years old and I'm still self-harming. When am I going to get my act together? Who said you don't have your act together? Okay, so one part of your life, one element of where you are in your life is maybe out of hand. Does that mean that every single thing is a mess? If you look around in this room and you were to see the pictures and how everything looks, you'll be, wow, that's really nice. It looks good. Okay? Well, there'll be some marks on the walls. There might be something a little bit crooked. What are we going to focus on? The crooked and the marks on the wall? I know. People are saying, yes, that's what I do. Don't. Don't. That's my advice. Don't. That's where we have to say, okay, I may not be where I want to be, but that doesn't mean that I'm a mess. It doesn't mean that I don't have my act together. It means that I have to work on X, Y, and Z to go forward. So if you have, let's say, a picnic basket. I'm getting hungry. Let's say you have a picnic lunch and you packed sandwiches and chips and everything that's needed for a picnic. You're going out with some friends and they say, oh, let's meet up. Right now we'd be 6 feet away from each other and we can't meet publicly, but let's just pretend that we can. And everyone's going to bring something, but they're asking everyone to bring everything for a little bit. So the drinks, the napkins, the cutlery, all the sandwiches, some salads and so forth. And you get there. And you're taking everything out and you realize, I don't have the drinks. Are you going to go, oh gosh, this is a mess? Probably. And I know some people are like, yes, because it wasn't perfect. Well, welcome. Nothing is perfect. And it's never going to be. So we make excuses sometimes. We're like, well, I just can't go then. Or yeah, I'm just going to leave. And this is where I go, no. We don't want to sabotage everything just because one element didn't go right. I'm not a perfectionist. And I like things to be good. I like things to be nice. I like things to be orderly. If I don't have something quite right, I'm like, okay. Like if I made a sandwich and I spilled mustard on my pants and I was going to go publicly speak, I'd be like, all right, well, I don't have another pair of pants. Let's go. Another person would probably freak out. I actually had this happen. My point is that you would freak out and be like, oh my gosh, how could they do that? Because they haven't enough peace with themselves. I had, and it's funny, what's in us, we bring out toward others. So sometimes the chaos or the control of what we like and what we do or what we've been exposed to comes out of us onto other people. And I remember my friend, I call her Preach, and I'm using her, not pet name, but the nickname that I call her. So we had a speaking engagement, and she was assisting me. Love you, Preach, if you're watching, but great person. I'm laughing because she assisted me, and we're at the room, and we had to get to the studio at 8 in the morning, and it's about 7, and we had to have breakfast, and we're getting, it was only about a 15-minute drive, but we had to be there by 8. The recording was at 8:30. And she had her curling iron or flat iron or whatever it is, flat iron, that's a steak. Anyway, she had this thing, and she suggested, she's getting ready, and she said, why don't you try that on your hair? So I did it, and anyway, I singed my hair, and it was all frazzled and singed, and she's, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Oh, and I said, first of all, you need to get dressed because we have to leave. She's like, but your hair, and it's bad, and I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, okay. I had a suit on, nice sweater, going on a talk show, and my hair singed. I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, got a little water. I'm like, all right, let's go. She's like, no, you have to redo your hair. I had a watch at the time. I looked at my watch. I said, we have to go. She's like, I can't believe you're not upset. I said, I cannot control what just happened. My hair is singed. We have to be at the studio in 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes to get there. We have to go. I could have made excuses. I could have said, oh my gosh, and yeah, it didn't look good. Why am I talking about that? Because there's some times that we can allow our own flaws and our own issues to get in the way of what we do and don't do. When we rationalize and make excuses, it prevents us from what we're intended to do or who we're intended to be. So if we're rationalizing and saying, well, it wasn't that bad, I didn't really, and it was an unhealthy thing, we're keeping ourselves back. We're holding ourselves back by not being truthful of what we're doing, of what we did. It's not blame, but it's saying, okay, well, let's say that you cut, that you are someone who cuts, and you did a light scratch. Okay, well, just for this, we don't compare, but for those that are actively harming, you do know what I'm trying to say. Someone who breaks bones may say, well, I will just I'll cut and not break a bone, and that's again the lesser of two evils. They're both evil. They're both unhealthy. Okay, so let's say that you say I'm going to scratch instead of cutting. Well, I only scratched. I didn't need to bandage it. That's really good that I didn't have to give myself stitches. I could just, and you go down this whole trail, and then you start thinking that you did a good thing, but then the shame comes in about a half hour later after the relief of whatever it is that you thought you were giving yourself lifts. Let's rewind. So, I'm really glad I didn't cut. I still scratched, which is still self-harm. Well, it wasn't good, but I scratched. So I self-harmed, and you know what? I'm glad I didn't cut, because that would have been so much worse This still wasn't good, but I'm going to go forward. I'm going to forgive myself, and I'm going to go forward and admit that I did. Do you see the difference? And once you talk about it, it loses its power over you. I know some people will do like the 5-minute or the 5-second or the 5-hour thing, and that's great to prevent you from harming. So in other words, I'm not going to do it for 5 minutes, and then that 5 minutes passes. I'm not going to do it for 5, and that's fantastic. I'm talking about once you did give in or decide to, are you rationalizing or making excuses before you do it? Well, you know what? I'll just do this. So it's not that there's anything wrong with you. You're not crazy. You're not a bad person. It's you're trying to gain control over this unhealthy coping mechanism. And maybe you're somebody who's swapping. You know, you use eating or binging or gambling or sex or any of the hundreds of other things that we as people do to cope with overwhelming feelings and emotions. And again, especially at this time of this pandemic where we're social distancing, so we're not hugging, we're not embracing, we're not handshaking, we're not seeing people. It's a lot of alone time and isolation type of thing. So maybe it's triggering you where you're feeling alone, or that all these different emotions and feelings are coming on where you say, I'm just going to harm because there's really no other point. There is. And there's a lot of other good things out, not that self-harm is good. So there's a lot of good things that you could be doing. And we're going to talk about that, have it over here, my list, momentarily, to distract yourself. Because what happens is when we give in to the harm and we rationalize and say, well, wasn't that bad, and well, I could have, I could have done this, I could have done that, but I only did this. That's where we start getting ourselves in denial eventually, in my opinion. But the healthier things will get you to feel better about yourselves. Are they going to instantaneously get you out of that and be like, ha ha ha? Most likely not. But the more you practice the positive things, the more you practice healthy coping skills versus allowing yourself to act out unhealthily, you're going to start feeling better about yourself. It's kind of like fitness. You go, you exercise. You're not going to be this fit, incredible body type of person because you worked out for an hour. Just like you eat a chocolate cake, it's not going to make you overweight or unhealthy just because you ate it that one time. I'm not talking about people with illnesses or diabetes. I'm just using this as an analogy. The key is consistency. So if I consistently ate a huge chocolate cake every day, that would affect me physically. If I worked out an hour a day consistently, that would affect me. One would do a negative effect, unhealthy. The other would have a positive effect, healthy. So we have to make that choice. And if you're someone who's struggling and rationalizing, put something on your refrigerator, your mirror, whichever you go to more, on your front door that says, I'm making good choices today. I'm not going to make excuses today. Write it down. Put it on that door. So when you go and you're walking out, or if you have a tool of choice that you still keep with you, you haven't harmed in 5 years and you still keep it around, put a note on that. If you just harmed this morning, same thing, put a note on it. What it will do is, let's say this is the tool, is it's just a reminder. It's just something that will hopefully prick into your mind. And if you're in that moment where you're in the zone, as I call it, where nothing will bring you back, it will be very challenging. That's where the coping skills and reaching out need to be done prior to that. But if you set yourself up with other things to do and you're replacing these unhealthy things, you're setting yourself up for success. When we don't do these healthy things and we eat unhealthy consistently, we watch unhealthy things consistently, we're not talking to the right people and unhealthy influences consistently, that's going to affect us in an unhealthy way on a daily basis. So make some changes in your life. Instead of, I can't get over this, I'm struggling right now, but I am going to get over it. There's always a different way to look at it. And instead of rationalizing and making excuses, own up to what you did or didn't do and look at, okay, all right, doesn't make me happy to admit this, but I did this, this, and this. You feel a little bit better because you got it off your chest, and then you move forward. And that's the beauty of Share Your Scars talk show, of Launching Point, Self-Injury Support and Resource Center, of our online store, of us going and having seminars and talking publicly, is that in all of that, we're not judging anyone. We are literally loving more and judging less. We want every person to know in everything that we're doing that they matter. We all make mistakes. We all mess up. We all do things that we're like, oh. If we speak it and own it, not carry it with us all week, all month long, we say, yes, I did that, I did this. Get it out, move forward. Before we kind of wrap up and talk about some coping mechanisms, I'm going to share a little story about letting it out and help you with excuses and rationalizing. I've gone to a therapist. I think everyone in our group, many people, let's just say that, have experience with going to a therapist. And my little analogy about that is, when you go to a therapist, when I went to a therapist, I felt like I'm throwing up. Blech. Okay, let's say you have a floor or a table, and you throw up. Vicky, you're talking about throw up. Yeah, I hope you're not eating. Should have I just snorted. Should have a disclaimer. Mom used to snort. It was the funniest thing when she would laugh. Anyway, focus. That's what I tell myself. So when I would go to a therapist, I would feel like every time I would go, I'm throwing up. I'm throwing up on the table. And if you've ever been someone who's gotten so sick, you ate, maybe it was alcohol related or maybe it was sickness related, but right after you ate, there's a lot that comes up and you throw up and you get it all out. And if anyone's thrown up before, you want to get away from that very quickly because it's gross, it smells, it's icky, it's stinky. So when you go to therapy, for me, it was like I'm throwing up, bleh, and we're looking at this, we're looking at this, we're looking, and for the sake of my analogy, I'm not going to get into details of like, there's a pee! Just said I wasn't going to do it, and I did. But that chunk, that thing, are things in life, right? And we keep going back to it, and we keep going back to it. And to me, that's what going to therapy was like, is I threw up every time, and we didn't just clean it up and get rid of it because I wouldn't deal and face with those things. So if you're somebody who is going to therapy and it's helping you keep on that path, talk about it and then do away with it. What do you do with throw up? You don't keep it out there. The interesting thing about throw up and therapy is that, let's say you throw up on an already dirty table or an already carpet, and carpet represents a dirty surface. Not only are you clean, you're not getting everything out, it gets all intertwined. When you're going to therapy, it's so important to be honest, so that when you are throwing up your issues and talking about it, it's so important to actually be honest. Otherwise, those things that are going to get caught in the carpet represents the stuff that's already there, because we all have stuff. So let's say you're going through issues right now, and the carpet is your stuff. That's your current situation and where you are. And then all you do is throw up to your therapist about what's currently going on. And then that's talked about and off the slate. You still have this to deal with. That's what I used to do all the time. Well, let's talk about this. And my life was chaotic. My life was a complete mess. I mean, I was like a soap opera walking. I had so many things going on with me that it was like just dealing with a day in my life needed to be talked about. So if you are in therapy and you're throwing up, remember, talk about it, clean it up, move on. I'm not at all saying go into your therapist and said, hey, Vicki said I should be like getting it out and then I should be done and I should be okay by the end of the day. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is when you're talking about something and you get it out, do your best to discuss that and stick with that particular thing, whether it's 3 sessions, 4 sessions, until you go to the next thing. Because if not, you're going to be regurgitating everything all, and you're going to be, I think I made myself clear on that. You're going to be picking apart things. So I hope that you got something out of today, and I hope that you realize that you have the power in you to do away with the rationalizations and the excuses. You do. You totally do. It's a different way to look at it. And some people might say, well, abstinence, I'm just not going to do it. That's great. And I find with a lot of people who are self-harming, that's what we want to do. We don't want to self-harm. So you have to do what works for you. And if it's writing a note, if it's saying, hey, I'm going to reach out to someone, there's different things that you can do. But the most important thing is being honest with yourself and sharing with someone else. It will break the power. So let me go over a couple really helpful coping skills, coping mechanisms that you can use. And I'm going to give a visual here real quick. Let's look at our website, what we have here, and where we are. We have Share Your Scars. Okay, so shareyourscars.com. Then over here, that's the talk show. Then we have Launching Point. Okay, launchingpoint.org. And then we have our happy store, Shop Love More, Judge Less.